All right. So to start with, I was going to do a warm up in class. We will have a quiz over this, so it will go into the grade book. But let me just had it out. There we go. We will have a warm up before we take the quiz, and it's just going to be over doing different forms. So what I'm going to have you guys do, and while you're at home, the best way is to actually do these things, because if you just watch the video, you're probably not going to get a whole lot out of it. So what I would like you to do, this is going to be just very close to the test. The way the test is going to be worded, I'm going to give you a function, and this function right here is in standard form. So remember, standard form shows us, sorry, I need to get a new pen. Standard form shows us the y-intercept. So we now know that our y-intercept, sorry, I'm going to move this so it won't let me record if I have it flat. So our y-intercept would be 0, 5. So that comes from standard form. So now without a calculator, this would be on the test. I don't care how you answer the other questions, but the bottom part here is basically saying state 5 points and graph it. So you're going to have a graph square on this part of the test, and you'll have to graph it in whatever you can do without a calculator. So I would pause your video right now, and I would work this problem, and then I'm going to have the answer up there. Okay, pause, do it. All right, so there's a lot of ways that you can do answer these questions. So if I start with vertex, I could put it in vertex form, and I can just ignore the f of x for a minute, and I can do x squared minus 8x plus box equals a negative 5 plus box. And so I would half it and square it. And so this would be x minus 4 parentheses squared equals 11. So since I want vertex form, now I'm going to bring that back over, and I would have x minus 4 squared minus 11. So my vertex would be 4, negative 11, right? So you can do it that way. Earlier in the unit, and I don't care on the test, you could also take and do a negative b, so negative b over 2a, so that's a negative 4, and then you have to put a negative 4 back into the equation to get your y, and this would all be without a calculator. So negative 4 squared is 16, negative 8 times negative 4 is plus 32, plus 5, somewhere, oh, it's a positive 4. Negative b, I was like, that cannot be right because it should match, but Miss Williams can't do signs, and I'm not going to start over. Sorry, it was a negative b, and 8 is negative, so it'd be a positive 8. So this little negative sign needs to go away. So it'd be a positive 8, which is a positive 4. There we go. 16 minus 32 plus 5. So 16 minus 32 is a negative 16 plus 5 is a negative 11. So I would have gotten 4, negative 11, which is what I got by completing the square. I do not care how you do this. Okay, the next one says roots. Now, I already completed the square, so I already have, I'm just going to highlight this line right here. I already have this line right here. So instead of moving the 11 over, can't I just take and square root both sides? And I get x minus 4 equals plus or minus the square root of 11. And then I would add 4. So my two roots would be 4 plus square root of 11 and 4 minus square root of 11. So I'm just going to write both of those. Now, I did teach you another method. I taught you the quadratic formula. So you could do a negative b, let's do that right, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared. So that would be 64 minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. So that would be 64. I don't have a calculator. So 64 minus 20 is 44. So 8 plus or minus the square root of 44 over 2. So 44 is 4 times 11. So that would be 8 plus or minus 2 root 11 over 2. Sorry, my writing is going to be kind of sloppy on this because it will not record if I lay it flat. I don't know why. It's an iPad thing, so just bear with my writing. So now I can divide 2 into both of these. I can divide 2 into here and 2 into here. And so I get 4 plus or minus the square root of 11, which is the exact same answer I got. I really don't care, but your roots are 4 plus or minus the square root of 11. Okay, you have a domain. It is a parabola, so you know it's a negative infinity to infinity. You have a range. If I were to sketch a graph of this is a mess, so I'm going to come up here to the top and sketch a graph. I have a vertex at over 4, down 11, and then I know it goes up because it's a positive a value. So wouldn't my range be a negative 11 to infinity? And so if I need 5 points, I could just use counting. I could go over 1, up 1, right? Over 2, up 4. And I could make my parabola that way. And so then you would list those 5 points. So like you would have a point at, what, 3, negative 10, and 5, negative 10. And you would have a point at 2, negative 7, 6, negative 7. So you can just plug in as well. I don't care. You should be able to do this. Okay. Practice 2. I'm going to pause in a minute, but before you pause, I want you to think. This is in factored form. What does factored form tell you? It tells you the 2 roots. So no, you know your 2 roots are 3, 0, and a negative 5, 0. So I would like you to go ahead and pause and answer the other questions. This would be on the no calculator part of the test. All right, so to find the vertex, there's a lot of different ways to do it. To find the y-intercept, a lot of different ways. I'm going to go ahead and put it into standard form because I don't have a calculator, and then we can talk about other methods. So that would be what? X squared plus 5 minus 3, so plus 2x minus 15. So then I would times everything by the negative 1/4. That's going to be a minus 1/2 and a plus 15/4. So my y-intercept, I now know, my y-intercept is 0, 15/4. Okay. I know my domain is a negative infinity to infinity. Okay. So now I'm going to have to complete the square on that, which looks really painful. If you looked at this last one right here, it was really easy to complete the square. Half 8 is 4, 4 squared is 16, subtract 5 is 11, you got it. It's easy. This one's a little bit harder to complete the square because you're going to have to take a 1/4 out and you're going to have a bunch of fractions. Okay, so I want you to think about using a little bit of common sense because I'd rather not complete the square on this one. I don't have a calculator. Oops, I just wanted to do a graph. If I make my graph, I know I have a root at 3 and I have a root at a negative 5. Where would my axis of symmetry be? Wouldn't it be directly in between those? So couldn't I add that together? 3 plus a negative 5 is a negative 2. Divided by 2 is a negative 1. So now don't I know that my vertex, my axis of symmetry is a negative 1? I could have done the negative b, so that would have been 1/2, over 2a, so that would have been a negative 1/2, which would have been a negative 1, so I could have done that. And then I'm going to go ahead and plug the negative 1 in. I'd rather not work with fractions, so I'm going to plug it in there. Negative 1/4, negative 1 minus 3 is a negative 4. Negative 1 plus 5 is 4, so that's a negative 16 times a negative 1/4. Negative 16 times, so positive 4, right? Which makes sense. It's going to be pretty wide. So that means that my range is going to go from a negative infinity to 4. And then I could find, I've got 3 points. I believe on the test it really truly only asks for 3 points because that's enough to get the shape of the parabola. But you could always just plug in, you know you have a point at 0, 15/4. So then you also have to have a point at a negative 2, 15/4. Like you could go that way as well. Okay. All right. So try this one. But before I say pause, I want you to think. This is the other form. This is vertex form. So I know the vertex now. My vertex is at a negative 1, negative 4, right? So I would like you to do your math, do whatever math you want to do, but I need you to find the roots, the y-intercept, all the rest of it. Okay? So to find the roots, Think back up here when I found roots. I just square rooted. I'm going to circle it in purple right there. I just square rooted both sides because it was in vertex form. You can multiply this all out and do all kinds of crap, but it's already in vertex form. So can't you just set it? Why do extra work? Can't you just set that equal to 0 and you can add the 4, divide by 2, and then square root. Okay, so you have that answer. Now, you didn't have to. That's how I would have done it. You could have just gone, okay, 2 times x plus 1 times x plus 1 minus 4. So you're going to do the x plus 1. So x squared plus 2x plus 1 minus 4. So then you get 2x squared plus 4x plus 2 minus 4. So 2x squared plus, 2x squared plus 4x minus 2, right? So that puts you in standard form. You now know the y-intercept is 0, -2. That's from the c value. You know that. And then you can do completing the square or the quadratic formula, so -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. So on the inside, that's 8. 16, but it's a positive 16, so 16 plus 16 is 32. Holy cow. And then 16 goes in here twice, so you get a -4 plus or minus 4 root 2 over, so 16 goes in there twice, over 4, so then the 4 goes into both, so you end up getting a -1 plus or minus the square root of 2. All of that green work just gave me the same work as the purple. So that's the thing about what I've taught you. Sometimes it's better to do one. I mean, you just have to know all the forms. You have to know all the methods. You just have to pick one and stick with it because you can get the right answer, but sometimes it will take you a little bit longer. So my domain is a -infinity to infinity. My range, if I graph it up here, I know I have a vertex at 1, -4. I know it's going up. It has weird roots, but they do cross because there's no I. And I have points there because I have a y-intercept of 0, -2, which would mean I'd have one here at 2, -2. So there's 3 points. So my range would be from a -4 to infinity. Okay. So that is the warm up there. Oh, we do have a couple of practices here. This one would be on a calculator, so I'm going to have you pause in a second. But on the test, it's going to say, write the equation in any form. So take a look at this and see what would be the easiest form. All right, so you should pause and try. Try it, pause. Don't just watch or you're not going to be ready for the test, and that's kind of on you. Okay, pause. So this gives you the vertex. And I'm going to use red. It doesn't give you nice roots. So I cannot write it in factored form, but I can write it in vertex form. Wouldn't it be y equals a, and it's going to be x minus 4.5 squared minus 2.5. And if you're saying, how did she know to do that? Last chapter, right? We learned vertex form last chapter. Now, if you notice, I gave you a point. So I know I have an x value at 3. So I can put that in for x. And I have a y value at 4.25, so I can put that in for y. So I'm going to say 4.25 equals a times 3 minus 4.5 squared minus 2.5. So I'm going to add 2.5, so that's 6.75 equals a times 1.5 parentheses squared. And you have a calculator, so 1.5 parentheses squared is 2.25. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2.25, and my a is 3. So that means that this value of 3 is going to go up here, and it's going to go in there, and I'm going to put a 3. And so that's my a value. So you're given a point so you can find the a value, and it just says find an equation of the graph. So I don't care what form. Okay, so try this one. I'm going to pause it. You try it. Okay, you have the vertex. So you know you have y equals a, x plus 2, parentheses squared, plus 3. So you can put in this point right here, and you can't even write it in factored form because it doesn't even cross the axis, so this one's easier. 6 equals a times a negative 4 plus 2 squared plus 3. So I had minus 3. That's a negative 2 squared is 4. Divide by 4, and a equals 3/4. So that's what goes up into here is 3/4. That is my a value, and so I can write the equation. Okay? So I'm going to hit pause, or have you hit pause, and I would like you to take these two and write them in all three forms. That's what the quiz is going to be over today, is writing things in both in the other forms. Okay, so pause, do these. So on the first one, that is in factored form. So you can easily write it in standard form. You would have x squared plus 5x minus 2x, so that'd be plus 3x minus 10. This is in standard form. Okay, and you have to know the names of them and put them in the correct places. So then on vertex form, I should put a y equals, sorry. I'm kind of just in a hurry. So plus box equals 10 plus box. I will move mine over to the other side. I know Mr. Brewer showed you guys on Friday. You can leave it on the same side. I'm totally a fan of that. But I have learned over the years that when you're solving, it's better. I don't know. If you can do it two different ways, go for it. Do whatever you want. It really doesn't matter. Okay, so 3/2 is half of that, and then you're going to square it. So you get x plus 3/2, parentheses squared. This together would be 40/4. So this would be 49/4. So then I would move it back over. And that's kind of what I mean. I don't really care how you do it. I just do it in my head, and I just move it back over. And if I'm solving it, I just leave it there. Okay, so then on this one, this is in vertex. Sorry, this one was in vertex. This one is in vertex because you can see your vertex. So you're going to take and you're going to write that twice, x minus 3 and x minus 3. So then you get negative 2 times x squared minus 6x plus 9 plus 8. So negative 2x squared plus 12x minus 18 plus 8, which is negative 2x squared plus 12x minus 10. So that is my standard form. So now I'm going to move that into factored form. So I would take out a negative 2. And then factors of 5 that add up to a negative 6 or a negative 5 and a negative 1. Okay, and so I think we did ones like this on Friday. I'm just reminding you this is what the quiz is over. Okay, so now we will take a quiz. You will make it up when you get back, or if you would like to make it up sometime this week, I will email you a list of times that I'm available. It's not very large, so you kind of have to work on my time, but we are taking a quiz. So after the quiz, I just want to show you this. We worked these examples. We're going to do these in class, but the reason they're like this is Friday's video in the Google Classroom has me working these, and I'm not going to make it again on a video. So if you need this, you can go to Friday's video and just fast forward to these examples. The one thing I did not show on Friday is sometimes in the textbook, they put it equal to a number. So you can take this thing and you can say, okay, I'm going to add the 2. So I get 2 x minus 3 parentheses squared plus 10 is less than y because we're going to put it as 0. So you can solve it this way. I know that my vertex is at 310, right? And then I know that it's opened up. So if I pick a point like 0, 0 to put in there, I get 0 minus 3 parentheses squared plus 10 is less than 0. So that's going to be 9, 18, 18. That's 28. Is 28 less than 0? No. 28 is not less than 0. So that means it's inside the bowl that is shaded. Okay. So you're going to learn how to solve these in the future, but all I'm going to ask you to do is graph them. So same thing on this next one. It is in factored form. So you know you have roots at 3, right? And you have roots at a negative 3/2, which is 1.5. You know the parabola is opened up because it doesn't have an a value. So then I'm going to go ahead and plug a 0, 0 in there and see when to shade. So 0 minus 3 is a negative 3. Times 3 has to be greater than or equal to 0. Is a negative 9 greater than or equal to 0? No, it's not. So you're going to shade around the outside. We aren't going to really learn to solve these. That's going to be your next math class. But we are going to work on sketching them and knowing where to shade. So if they look like this, just go ahead and add the y in and solve it. Okay? And we did those. Those are all in the video from Friday. And then the last one we're going to do in class today is this one. These are all in your notes. Okay. And so, oh, actually there was 2 more that we're going to need to take a look at. But, and so it says the members of the student council. So pause this, read it, see if you can set something up. Okay. If you kind of make a table on this one, it might be helpful. Okay. So right now the members ask if they buy a t-shirt for a specific price. They find that if they sell it for 20, they sell 60, which would give them $1,200. For every $5 increase in price, so like if that's 25, then they sell 10 fewer, so that's 50. So this, I believe, comes out as $1,250. So then if you go 30, right, that would go 10 fewer, and so then that's $1,200. So right there, I know that this is my vertex because the increment, it dropped 50 on both sides of the $1,250. So now it wants me to write a function. Okay, it says write a function. So if you know the vertex, basically, can't you just say a equals, and it's x minus 20 squared plus 1250? Because we are graphing x and y, the profit, right? And so the only thing I need is I need an a value. So I could plug, I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to plug this point in. So I'd have 1,200 equals a times, oh, that should be a 25. Good thing I caught that. That's terrible because it's 25 is the vertex, right? 25, 1250. Good morning to me. A times 20 minus 25 squared plus 1250. So I'm going to minus 1250 and get a negative 50. And that's 5 squared, so that's 25a. So I'm going to divide by 25. And my answer is a negative 2. So there's an equation because it wants an equation. So if the club member wants to receive at least $10.50, what prices should they charge? So I could keep using my pattern. I'm just going to go here into Desmos because I can't do anything else when I'm teaching on this thing. So it was a negative 2 parentheses x minus 25 parentheses squared plus 1250. Okay, and then I'm going to put a line at 1050. And now, I mean, we got to get way up there. That's the one thing I hate about Desmos. Oh, I have to put y equals on this guy. So y equals 1050. Okay, so that will give me $15 and $35. Okay, so I would say between 15 and 35. Now, some kids, though, they just kept doing the pattern. Because if I would have done 15, this would have been 70, which is 1050. So I would have gotten it if I just kept doing the pattern. All right. And then the last thing that we are going to do today, notes-wise, this is QF7 in your notes. You should have that. You are going to have to graph on the test, and we kind of already practiced this in the warm-up. It wants, and I said on the test I was going to not ask for 3 or 5. I was just going to ask for 3 because I'm pretty sure you guys can do this. So I'm going to pause, and I'm going to let you work these two, and then we'll go over it, okay? So on this first one, you paused. Hopefully you worked them. The first one, I definitely know the vertex. The vertex is at 2, -3. So I have a point at 2, -3. And then I would probably use the counting method. Since that's a 1/2, I would go over 1 up a half. So I would have a point at 1, -2.5, and 3, -2.5. You could also go over 2 and up 2. So you could also have that. I just need 3. So you could have a point at 4, 1, and at 0, 1. I really don't care. Oops, sorry. My hand got away from me there. But you're going to have to graph these without a calculator. So on the next one, that is in vertex form. So you have a point at a -1, 2. And then you know it's going down, over 1, down 3. It's going to be fairly skinny, and it's going to be going down. So my points would be -1, 2, and a -2, -1, and 0, -1. Okay. So if I asked you to graph this next one, you don't know the vertex, but we did these earlier in this unit. You could do a -b over 2a. So isn't my vertex point at 1? Plug 1 in there. This is a -2 plus 4 plus 1. So it's at 1, 3. And then I could go over 1, down 2, because these are nice a values, and I have my graph. Okay, and writing the equation on this thing, I know the roots are not nice. If you notice, it just says write an equation. So I really don't care what form you write it in. I can't write it in roots, but I do know this point. So I know this point right here is at -1, 4. So I would have a point, I'm going to put an a there, y equals x plus 1 squared plus 4. Okay, let's see here. It looks like it's going over 1, down 2, over 2, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this one does look like I could count it. But if you get to one and you're like, I don't know if I can count it, you can always plug in a point. I will always give you a point. Like right there, you know that point is 0, 2. So if I plug 2 in here and I plug 0 in here, first I would minus the 4 and get a -2. And 1 squared is 1, so a equals a -2. So I could count it or I could solve for it. I don't really care, but you're going to have to be able to find me an a value. Okay, so just email me if you think you want to try to take the quiz that we're going to take for different forms today. And I'll send you a list of the times. I know I have no time on Monday to do quizzes, but because I'm going to be gone 5th block. So I can look at my schedule and let you know when I can give them. So, and we can set up a Google Meet and do it. All right. Let me know. Please email me if you have any questions.